What is up, guys? In this video today, it's going to be on how to maximize mTOR for faster muscle growth. Let's dive right into the video. First off, what is mTOR? Stands for Mechanistic Target of Rapamycin. You don't really need to know this, but if you're curious what mTOR is, that's what it is. Really, what you need to know is that it is the main muscle growth signal in the body. So really, everything that goes upstream of building muscle comes down to maximizing your mTOR signal, how you actually pulse it throughout the day, because it's not supposed to be elevated throughout the day. We'll get into that in the video, but this is really what you want to think about of maximizing your muscle growth. All comes down to this signal right here, which is mTOR. I don't understand everything in this diagram here, but this is like the foundation, the first principles thing that you actually want to master for muscle growth. It's what activates the muscle protein synthesis. And then when MPS, muscle protein synthesis, is greater than muscle protein breakdown, that's when you get gains in the gym. That's when you actually grow, even in a deficit, even when you're cutting. This really matters. No matter what you're doing with your fitness, you always want to maximize for mTOR. There's never a point where you want to have less muscle growth in the gym. There's just no point in doing that. And so the whole point of lifting and nutrition for muscle growth is to maximize this part of this. This is really the first principles thing that you want to get right. Everything comes more upstream from the baseline mTOR. You could think of it like that. So you always want to maximize for mTOR. If you're not doing this, you're just going to have loss of progress and plateaus. If you're not maximizing for obviously the main muscle growth signal, you're not going to make progress. And this is something that I never truly understood until I started applying what I teach in my content now. As you see, this it's kind of like my fitness progress over the years. It's kind of embarrassing to say, I was putting in so much effort in these three pictures. Me at 18, this is me at 20, and this is me at 21. And this is me at 22. I just turned 23 2 days ago. And obviously, I look so much better now. I've made so much more progress in the last little bit over a year since me making content and actually applying what I teach in my coaching to myself and my clients. This is the results that you can get as well. So you don't want to be putting in the effort without getting results like I was doing before. I didn't really understand these concepts of what actually works at a, say, biology level. And that's really what fitness is all about, is understanding the first principles and then applying that to create a program for yourself, which is what I do for you guys. I do for myself as well, of course. And then that's how you get the best results, not really by doing more, but understanding what works, applying that to yourself, and then just getting the results from that. So let's dive into the actual things we can do. So first off is progressive mechanical tension. This is basically just getting good workouts in the gym. Really overlooked. A lot of people just show up to the gym. You think you're doing a good workout. You don't really have a plan to go in there and actually make progress with. But I know I talk a lot about nutrition on my channel, on my videos here. But if you're not getting the lifting right, if you're not actually getting correct mechanical tension and progressing with that, then there's really no point to the nutrition in the first place. So getting good lifts in the gym, focusing on full range of motion on your exercises, picking the right exercises, of course, with what your goal is, what targets or what muscles you want to target with certain muscle fibers. There's a lot that you can optimize for. Really just picking the right exercises, executing them correctly with full range of motion, good tempo on your reps, so good quality reps, focusing on the concentric, isometric, and eccentric part of the reps. Especially with the eccentric, there's a lot of, studies and research that point to this is really where you get the most mechanical tension. And then, of course, progression every single session that you do. So I like to use rep ranges. What I do for myself and my clients is, say, for example, you have a chest press that you're working on. So you can have a 6 to 8 rep range. Let's say I hit 8 reps to failure. Next session, I'm going to I'll increase the weights, and then I'll automatically drop me to around 6 reps. And I'll get 7 reps the next time, 8 reps the next time, increase the weight, drop down to 6. And you're just repeatedly doing that to make progress. Of course, always focusing on the quality reps, doing the right exercise. It's kind of like the boring part of fitness. You're just kind of doing the same thing, but that's really what works. You're just picking a program for yourself. You know exactly what exercise you're going to do. You don't really change it. You're not adding too many variables. Doing the same thing, just getting stronger over time. Focusing on the correct execution of this. And then that's when you actually make and send the best signal for yourself with mTOR through the gym. That's really what the whole point of lifting is just sending the muscle growth signal, and then you can adapt to that and then just make progress from there. Next up is amino acids. So obviously you probably know you need protein to actually grow muscle. So number one, hitting daily protein. That's going to be mandatory. Like that's the most important. Like if you want to boil nutrition down to one thing, yes, calories and protein matter, but there's a lot more that you can really optimize for that doesn't take effort. It just takes the applied knowledge. So hitting the correct amount of leucine and leucine threshold at every meal. For most people, it's going to be around 35 to 40 grams. Then with older age does require a higher protein intake just because the older you get, the more protein and the less your body is pretty much efficient at using that for a bioavailable form to actually send growth signals to the body. And then meal frequency. So this kind of depends on your schedule. This is why everything is pretty customized in nutrition, or yeah, just fitness and nutrition, because fitness is not really a one size fits all. It just depends on your schedule, what your goals are, and then what you can really work around with. Meal frequency just depends. I mean, the more meals that you can get to an extent, the better it will be, but we'll get into how to actually apply this later. Is you don't really want to maximize mTOR all day, every day, because there's some negative side effects to that as well. But you want to maximize every pulse that you get, which is by hitting the leucine threshold. And then nutrient bioavailability, obviously picking the right protein foods, high quality protein sources, you could say, to actually stimulate growth. So having all the essential amino acids, not just leucine, and then every single, I guess, amino acid profile in the food is going to be really important for that. And you can switch different foods. Not too important, but obviously like you want to know what foods work and then what foods aren't the best. Like for example, plant proteins, not going to be the best for sending a leucine signal specifically. They might have other amino acids, but for more complete protein, I would focus more on animal proteins, and you can kind of diversify those in your nutrition plan as well. Next up is insulin. So insulin is very important. It doesn't directly stimulate muscle growth on its own, but it's an mTOR amplifier. So you really want to have this with protein specifically. That's why I say in the post-workout meal, you really want to have a big insulin spike. A main part of that is to amplify the mTOR signal, which is only going to drive more muscle growth, muscle protein synthesis when you actually want it to. And insulin is also anti-catabolic. So before your workout, you can have pre-workout carbs for the insulin spike as well. It's going to basically, from the equation of the MPS to muscle protein breakdown, it basically helps both sides when you're doing this correctly. Also, keep in consideration carbohydrate types, so fructose and glucose, and then the glycemic index, the insulin index is a really important thing to understand is how much insulin you actually release from certain foods. It's not really proportionate to the amount of carbs that you have. So like you can get really nitty gritty with this. You don't necessarily have to understand every single part of this, but it's what I help you guys with my coaching is obviously optimizing that for you and obviously making it realistic to actually apply and have good adherence to, because if you can't even adhere to the plan, then obviously there's no points. And then carbohydrate timing. So with the pre and post workout meal, having that anchored around your training. So having insulin pre-workout and post-workout, it's going to be the best. And then letting insulin drop outside of the post-workout meal, like the workout window, so you can have more fat burning. Obviously, like if you've watched my other videos, you understand that insulin is anti-fat burning as well. So like it blocks fat oxidation, which is what we want to actually get leaner. Like it's not just about calories, but letting your body tap into stored body fat to actually obviously like use the body fat that you have. So it's really important there. And then calorie intake, of course, like total energy demand. If you don't have enough calories coming in, it's not going to be a good environment for the body to grow muscle and have obviously like mTOR in the first place. So this does depend on your total daily energy expenditures. Like that's why it's not a one size fits all. I can't tell you exactly how many calories you need specifically and your specific goal as well. So whether you're trying to cut down, whether you're in a lean bulking phase, for most people have found that in fitness you're trying to cut down. You can also do this while gaining muscle as well. So you don't have to be in a surplus for muscle growth. Why I drew this little diagram here. So for example, this is your maintenance calories. For example, let's just say 2,500 calories is your maintenance. Let's say, for example, this is 2,000 calories. In this range here, you can still grow muscle. Like this can be a really good you just like zone, like calorie zone that you can use to still be in a deficit. You're still losing body fat, and you're also having enough calorie intake to maximize mTOR, like, or not maximize, but you're sending a good signal for the body, and you're in a good environment to have muscle growth. So you can still have muscle growth. Is exactly what I do for myself, my clients as well. It's really the foundation of nutrition. Like, you want to get calories in first. Like, for my nutrition plans, I'll always focus on total calories first. That's like the baseline foundation. And then from there, I can work on specific meal examples, specific timings, just using those calories, depending on what the goal is, of course. For you, if you're in a cutting phase, then we want to focus on being in this range here, depending on what the goal is, what your schedule is, and what your TDE is in the first place. So finding that for yourself, you can track how your body responds to calories over time. First, like 2 to 3 weeks of tracking, you'll know a really good maintenance. And then from there, you can be a lot more precise with where you want to be here. And then that's how you actually make the best progress over time, is by tracking and actually knowing your specific numbers for yourself. So another important topic there. And this is where it comes down to the balance of AMPK and mTOR. So that's why I say that you don't want to always consistently have mTOR amplified all day, every day, because the opposite to mTOR is called AMPK. This is basically like the breakdown process of the body, not necessarily breaking down muscle, but breaking down stored body fat, breaking down other things like, having good benefits for other things in the body. So AMPK has benefits for body composition, like I mentioned. Fat oxidation requires for this, also for the mitochondria as well. So like increasing energy in the body comes from mitochondria, which comes from having AMPK. So like zone 2 cardio, I mentioned that on my channel as well. You don't really want to think of only mTOR good and then AMPK bad. That's really not a good way of understanding it, because it does have a lot more specific benefits for this. There are good times and bad times for both. So like I mentioned, mTOR is the muscle growth signal. So when you're training, you're going to send an mTOR signal. When you're having your nutrition with your protein meals, sending that signal. That's why you want to have kind of like low insulin periods and times where you're not really eating food. Like you could say intermittent fasting, something that I really focus on myself and I recommend for clients. Sometimes it doesn't fit into the schedule as much as others, but if we can get that in, intermittent fasting is going to be a pretty good benefit specifically for fat oxidation and cutting down. I really recommend intermittent fasting. And then mTOR does have an effect on aging and longevity. So that's why another reason it's not a good time or not a good thing to have consistently elevated all day. I'm the type of person that cares about like my longevity, of course, like living longer and having a good health span and lifespan. So I don't want to be always eating like 6 meals a day, never having time to let my body rest with its digestion, and having these AMPK times in the day as well. So I usually like to stick to usually 3 to 4 meals, sometimes 2, just depends on what my specific schedule for the day looks like. But you do want to have times where you take a break from eating. You don't want to be having 6 meals every single day for like a really long time, just because this is going to accelerate your aging and longevity. You can still maximize your muscle growth, like have really good signals for mTOR. That's why it's all about the signal quality and like the pulses that you have, not just elevating it all day. So you don't need 6+ meals a day. You don't really need like the bodybuilder approach where you're just eating food constantly, even waking up in the middle of the night to have food. Obviously, like that's not good. Like it's not natural and normal for humans to do that. Like if you think about like the primal, I guess like caveman diet, they probably ate like once a day maybe. Like I'm not advocating for that. Like it depends on what the goal is. I've tried OMAD diet before. It's not the best for specific muscle growth, but the whole point I'm trying to get across is you don't need to just have a ton of meals for the best results for this, because there's always a balance for this. And yeah, that's really all I need to get across there. And then these are a little bit more niche things you could do, like phosphatidic acid. This is a direct mTOR signaling supplement that you can take. And there is mixed research on this. I don't take this myself. It's like there's some things that show it's pretty effective, some things that don't. So it's not really a priority for me. But I did want to put this in the video if you want to look into this yourself. Just want to put that out there. And then myostatin. So this is really important to understand. This is kind of like a muscle growth block in the body that we have naturally that occurs. It's an anti-hypertrophy signal. We want to obviously lower this to increase the muscle size that we can produce. few things that we can do for this. I wouldn't really focus on this like as the main priority for muscle growth, but something that you can obviously apply to your program is number one, lifting itself. We kind of already covered that. And then I don't really know how to say this, epicatechins in your diets. So things like green tea, cocoa powder, and then body fat percentage as well. So like that's why starting from a lean state when you're bulking, like that's why I always want to say like you want to get to a lean state before you start a lean bulk phase, just because you're going to have way more better environment to have muscle growth in the body. The next up is cold exposure and sauna timing. So both are beneficial at the right times. You want to have kind of like another signal you can send in the body. It all comes down to sending signals. Like really all fitness is just sending signals with the inputs that you put in with your training, with your nutrition, with your lifestyle, with other things like sauna, cold exposure, like cold showers, all these different things. They're just sending signals in the body that if we can understand those signals, we can kind of reverse engineer that, make a program for yourself, and then get the best results from using the understanding of those signals. So avoiding cold exposure post-workout is going to be good for hypertrophy, but then you do want to have sauna post-workout. So you're going to send a heat shock protein to the body, and then heat shock proteins are shown to increase androgen receptors as well. So a little bonus topic there. If you're into like optimizing for the hormones, testosterone, androgens, something that I'm really big into as well. So really good benefit for that. I don't do this every single day, but maybe once or twice a week I'll do a sauna. Doesn't have to be specifically post-workout, but it is beneficial to do that. Sometimes I'll just do it on a rest day. But then avoiding cold exposure post-workout is going to be a big one. I usually do a morning cold shower, so that's a really good option for yourself. It's just you can do that before your workout or like a few hours after, but I wouldn't do it directly after your workout just because it does hinder the mTOR signaling. But then again, sauna is it doesn't really matter when you time the sauna. Post-workout is good just because you're sending more nutrient absorption to the body, like your blood flow is a lot better, and you can do like a little post-workout shake as there as well, but it just depends on what the schedule looks like. I wouldn't recommend that for everyone. Just depends on, again, what you actually have going on throughout the day. And then HMB. So this is a really good supplement specifically for cutting. So if you don't know what HMB is, it's the metabolite from leucine. You can kind of think of this as the most potent form of protein that you can get. So protein, the strongest amino acid for muscle growth is leucine, which comes from protein. And then HMB is another metabolite from leucine. So very, very potent muscle growth signal that you can send, but it's most beneficial in a deficit. It's not really going to add more in a surplus, but it's definitely anti-catabolic. So if your goal is to lose body fat, if you're cutting right now, and if you're taking more of an aggressive approach, this is when I would really prioritize HMB supplementation. I've tried this before and it really does help. So something that I definitely recommend, just depending on what the goal is. So definitely good to know there. And then cut or bulk, mTOR signaling is key. Like I mentioned before, there's never really a point where you want worse mTOR signaling. Like you don't really want worse muscle growth signal. Even if you're cutting, even if you're bulking, you can get the best results. Doesn't matter where you are with your progress in the gym. You're going to have faster muscle growth with your bulking, even on a cut, easier building muscle on a cut, and it's really the key for not losing any progress when you're cutting, which I know a lot about. I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, which all comes down to understanding these signals in the body. So that's really all for today. If you guys want to schedule a call with me to go into one-on-one coaching, make a customized program for yourself, and really apply everything that I teach into a kind of like hyper condensed program that you can just follow and execute that works with your lifestyle, with your schedule, customized to you, then you can schedule a call, see what that looks like if you are interested. But other than that, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.